So you may remember last October, a Saudi-led coalition hit a funeral in Yemen, killing more than 130 people and drawing, the world got pretty mad about that. But in the months following the strike, the United States doubled the amount of fuel it provided to coalition jets, according to figures obtained from the United States military. And what it shows is that the United States, despite people saying, what are we doing in Yemen? This isn't right. Human Rights Watch is talking about how many civilians have died. The U.S. is still giving them fuel, specifically. And an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, filed by Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California with bipartisan support, failed to pass the Rules Committee last night. Last night, July 12th. So it won't be up for a vote. What Khanna's amendment would have at least required reporting to Congress exactly how many flights are being refueled, where their location is, and verification that they aren't involved in civilian deaths. Ro Khanna said that to the Intercept. The article to the Intercept is below. But this is Obama's thing. March 25th, 2015, the Obama administration announced support for Saudi Arabia's campaign against the Houthi rebels and allied forces who had seized swaths of the country, including the capital, Sana'a. The next day, CENTCOM Commander General Lloyd Austin told senators that he didn't know the specific goals and objectives of the Saudi campaign. Since then, the U.S. has since offloaded 67 million pounds of fuel to coalition jets. In the last 2 years, 67 million pounds of fuel. Right? According to conservative United Nations estimates, the Saudi coalition has responsible for at least 3,133 civilian deaths in Yemen since the U.S. support began. That represents more than 60% of all civilians confirmed killed in hostilities since 2015. The Houthis and forces loyal to former President Ali Abdullah Saleh have also been documented firing indiscriminately into civilian areas, planting landmines, and obstructing aid convoys. The Yemen Data Project, which is in the link in the article below, I suggest that's a good source to follow to get a lot of great information, which monitors open source reports of airstrikes in Yemen, has recorded more than 13,081 coalition raids through June 2nd. Roughly a third hit non-military targets, the group found. This is unbelievable. And there was at least a small little chance of Congress just monitoring it, not even stopping it, just monitoring how much fuel we're giving. And they said no. So we can't even monitor. So Congress doesn't know what the military is doing. Usually for a military, you need congressional approval. Well, George Bush got rid of that after 9/11. And Obama has used that to perfection. He used that to go from 2 to 7 wars. He goes, I'm going to pull big mass numbers of boots off the ground in Iraq. So we have we're bringing home 50,000 of our boys. They did that, which is just like a PR stunt. But then we can just do this crap because this is more beneficial anyway. And flag-draped coffins are hard to sell to the United States public. But killing, 3,100 civilians way far away in some poor country you don't know anything about, who cares? The American media is not going to report it. The American media, that's not going to be front and center. Rachel Maddow's not going to do a half hour on that. These are all the civilians. This is what your tax dollars are doing. Can you imagine if MSNBC or CNN was doing a real story about what was happening, of just like who gets killed from your tax dollars? Can you imagine if they called it that? And then this is what happened next then. So after the what they call the double tap funeral strikes in Sana'a last October, this is just typical Obama half measure to kind of keep my liberal base showing I'm supposed to be Mr. Peace, Mr. Nobel Peace Prize. They gave him a Nobel Peace Prize, right? So the Obama White House blocked the sale of precision-guided munitions to Saudi Arabia, right? And it was this bullshit sign of protest, right? Against a campaign that it had backed for. So it backed the campaign for 18 months. And then after, oh, whoops, we killed some people at a wedding. Gip, bank, sorry. I'm sorry, he had a funeral. We killed the people at that funeral. So then what does the Obama administration do? Oh boy, we're going to block sale of precision-guided missiles so this never happens again. So then it's like, oh, the Saudis are out. We don't know. So you don't know what the Saudis are doing with all of your support? The administration, remember, the Obama administration approved weapons sales surpassing $100 billion to Saudi Arabia. That's what Obama did. Trump just did $113 billion, I think. So they give us oil and they buy our weapons. Isn't that fun? So it's just another horrifying example. And this is something we've helped create. This is what your tax dollars are doing. There are 7 million people on the brink of famine, 500,000 malnourished children in Yemen right now, that the American military, the American government, starting with Obama, using legislation from Bush and furthered by Trump. So I bet you Obama probably touched that crazy orb in Saudi Arabia like Trump did, but we just don't have any photos of it. Right? A cholera outbreak has spun out of control, and it's affected more than 320,000 people and killing more than 1,700. There's a flight ban on Sana'a, left the entire north of the country cut off and prevented journalists and human rights workers from entering the country. Oh, that's how America does it. We can't have those pesky human rights workers and journalists. So this is what we've done. And I would suggest going to Human Rights Watch. And it just shows you that the military-industrial complex is calling the shots. They don't even have to answer to Congress. The Pentagon should be disclosing these numbers. They don't have to. And good on Ro Khanna for trying to get it done. But and it's all done legally, and it's all done in the global war on terror, and we're the moral high ground country. We're a little better because we're America, but this is what we're doing. Putting 7 million people in a food crisis. 7 million people. You imagine that? Los Angeles County, 7 million people. Put them in a food crisis. Imagine we did that. Yemen, which is not that big of a country. We just put 7 million people in New York State. We did it to Texas. We took Texas and locked off part of it, the Dallas-Fort Worth part, and bombed the shit out of it. And no journalists can go into that part of Texas, and no human rights workers. And there's 7 million people in the state of Texas that are malnourished, and we're paying to help bomb them. Is that everybody okay? Or a foreign country is? Saudi Arabia and Mexico. China and Canada are doing this to Texas. We'd be okay with that? 7 million people. There's 500,000 malnourished children in Texas. Or Illinois. Or New York. Everybody good with that? Right? As long as they don't come to my neighborhood, I guess we're okay. Thanks for watching the show. Spread the word. Like and subscribe. Patreon link is below. I'll keep doing this.